This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Right out of the door!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Because I'm the Mark and I'm awesome!
The Guru.
Today I'm going to break it down for all you simpleton sweat hogs listening out there in Can Crusher Nation. I don't mean to come out here week after week and toot my own horn, but toot.
And the English Professor.
It is I, the English professor from the County of Kings, speaking the English of the Queen.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. My name is Mark Martinez, and I want to thank you for joining us once again here on Can Crushers, a normal, everyday garbage man drinking beer and talking wrestling. But today, I am joined by a host of guests. This is a weird episode. We haven't usually had more than one or two guests on at a time. This one is a huge guest list. And I'm not going to spoil it who they are, because we are going to sit down and talk about the first ever Keith Miller Memorial Invitational, the whole weekend that happened last week in DuBois, Pennsylvania. And boy, do we have a great set of guests coming up. I'm excited. So let's just dive into that. You'll hear all the guests. You'll hear us talk about wrestling, baseball, maybe having a couple beers here or there, but everything. But it's all involved, because if you weren't at the first ever Keith Miller Memorial Invitational Wrestling/baseball event last week in DuBois, Pennsylvania, you missed out. And here comes all the guests to tell you what you missed out on. But first, before we do that, I want to tell you about Collar and Elbow. Collar and Elbow has great wrestling apparel. Hats, hoodies, tees, vests, eye patches, anything that you can imagine for wrestling. And you got some sweet, one says living the dream. It's about Dusty Rhodes. You got the Al Snow and Macho Man sunglasses, all of that. We have a discount code for you. It's Can Crushers. All one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You'll save 10%. Here comes Al Snow to tell you more about Collar and Elbow. And when we come back, we'll just run the gamut of my guest list here on Can Crushers. I hope you enjoy the show. I'll be back after we talk to all the guests. This is fun.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
This is the hardcore icon, Just Incredible, and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best Can Crushers Podcast. Well, that, my friends, is just incredible.
And my first guest for this special edition about the Keith Miller Memorial Invitational weekend that happened in DuBois just a week ago is Brandon Orsich. Brandon, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Better the second take, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Brandon, let everybody know kind of what you do in DuBois and how you're linked to DuBois Penn State.
Yeah, so I'm now an assistant coach at Penn State DuBois. I just graduated this year, was a player there for 5 years, and I pitched there and was pretty involved in the community as well as campus.
And I'm glad you brought up the word community, because this past weekend with this tournament and wrestling show, which we'll get to because that's the big part of this, it brought a lot of eyes to Du Bois. Different teams came in. So this tournament was pretty rocking, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime we can get tournaments like this to come to Du Bois and bring our community involved, it's a big baseball community. It's great, and our community supports local baseball, and having 8 teams come in like that was something awesome.
And how bummed are you? Because graduate of 1995, you a little bit after me, I'm sure. First ever D9, D10 All-Star game on Friday night, which was an amazing game.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I can't wait for that to happen again next year. Getting the word out about that, keep getting people involved in it. Some great players were involved in that. Some D1 commits, some D2 commits, and then some players that was their last game. So getting to coach that and be involved in that was pretty cool.
It was. But we're a wrestling podcast. We'll promote anything for Chad Miller, anything for Al Snow, anything for Du Bois, but we're essentially a wrestling podcast. And Brandon, you made your managerial debut and essentially your wrestling debut all Saturday night.
Absolutely. I couldn't be more excited about that. Wanted to do something like that since I was very young. So getting to do that was quite exciting.
So you came out with Shotgun Tony Gunn. What happened that you instantly went on Sinbodi's side?
Oh, you know what? You think the guy's awesome. Tony Gunn was a great dude to me. We get out there, we're going through the match, things are going decent, and I might have messed up a little bit. That might have been on me, but Tony Gunn, being the man that he is, really showed himself there and turned his back on me. So I had to decide to turn my back on him.
I mean, it was your first time ever managing anybody. What did he expect? You have to shake the cobwebs off. You're just out of training, right?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know I expect a little bit more out of myself, trying to perform under pressure on the baseball field for a long time. But being the first time, Tony's going to give me a little bit more slack.
I agree. So then you got in the ring, and you and Coach Caleri end up clotheslining him.
Yeah, he had to get what was coming to him. So, me and Coach Caleri saw the opportunity, and Sin was able to give that to us, so we took it.
So that was a great part of the match, and I'm sure when we talk to Coach Caleri, he'll say the same thing. But let's talk about what happened afterwards, because you made it into the locker room of the wrestlers, and, you and Tony kind of were like, okay, man, everything's okay. Maybe next time we come back up, I'll look at you again, kid. But how's your chest feeling?
Oh, the chest is feeling pretty good. It was a little beat up afterwards, but it's what we had to do, and it was a little bit of an initiation maybe, but it's all right.
You took 12 chops from the whole roster. Your chest looked like hamburger.
Yeah, it was pretty beat up.
Who gave you the hardest chop?
Oh man, the hardest chop. I'd actually have to say Ray Lynn.
That's who I thought, because she gave you the double chop, didn't she?
Yep, double chop straight over the top. Yep.
That's how they do it in Pittsburgh, man. She's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. I've watched Ray Lynn for a couple of years now too, so that was actually pretty cool for me. And
you've also been, self-promotion, a huge fan of the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, haven't you?
I have. I was very excited to meet you.
So this was great. And anything else you want to tell anybody about this tournament that just took place and future things going on in Du Bois? Because we need to pump up Du Bois and get it hopping and rocking and rolling all the time.
Oh my God. So, like I said, the community's awesome, and they're always down to support. So if anybody has something like that, Du Bois is a great town to do it in. It's in central PA. It's pretty centralized across the state. For next year, the USCAA, which is where Penn State Du Bois is associated with, they hold a national tournament there for the last couple of years. It will be there again next year. so you guys can come out to that. The prep baseball report is always there. So anytime you can really swing by Showers Field, there's probably something going on, and there's players going to be there, and DuBois is always happy to accommodate.
Yeah, and it's a great facility too, guys. You heard me talk about it at the beginning of this podcast. So, Brandon, I want to thank you for spending a little bit of time tonight, just kind of gloating about the amazing thing we did with the Keith Miller Memorial Invitational this past weekend.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
And my next guest during this Keith Miller Memorial Invitational recap is none other than OVW official and Impact official Daniel Spencer. See, I finally gave you props. You can't hate on me right now.
I actually can, because since the last time we've talked, I'm not just an OVW official. I am the senior official at OVW and Impact Wrestling official, Daniel Spencer. So you did miss out one little thing. But it's okay. I love you, though.
I know you love me. And guys, if you don't know who Daniel is and you missed him, anytime you watch Impact, he's the only referee that wears a sleeve.
I am the arm sleeve zebra. Absolutely. Hashtag arm sleeve zebra. By the way, you can get your arm sleeve zebra t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com/Daniel Spencer. Thanks for that little transition for a plug there.
Yeah, well, that's what this isn't about. This is about the huge event and tournament that you were actually part of last weekend in DuBois, Pennsylvania. And it was for one of our great friends, Chad Miller's dad.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, the Keith Miller Invitational. Yes, it was amazing to be a part of that. I was honored when Chad, asked me a couple months ago if I was available, and then second, if I would be willing to come the trip up to Pennsylvania for this event. And first of all, number one, it was yes. Number two, if I wasn't available, I would have done everything I can to make myself available to be there for Chad and for in the memory of his dad. And I didn't even know anything about the show at the time, other than there was going to be a wrestling show. But I already knew that with Chad Miller being involved, he was going to make sure the best was there. And man, did he produce!
Yeah, and we'll get to the wrestling show, because that's essentially your meat and potatoes. But I know, you guys got there early, hung out in the dressing room a little bit, and you got to watch some of the 12 and under tournament that was taking place. How about, one, the facilities, and two, those kids can play?
Yeah, they can. I mean, there's some future stars for sure. I know a lot of eyes were on, some talent scouts were on these people, these kids, and what they were doing. But the facilities, I mean, like, it's, oh my goodness. I mean, when I played Little League, and I know this is bigger than Little League, I get that, but if I played Little League baseball and I had those facilities, like, I would probably, be
good,
be a superstar myself. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would probably not be in professional wrestling. I would be in baseball. Let's put it that way. So yeah, the sky's the limit for these kids, and the facilities there. And I just, unbelievable.
I wish they had this opportunity for me when I was playing, because it wasn't around in 95. Little League was way before 95. We don't have to continue to date myself, but the opportunity that these kids have, it's unbelievable, and Chad just wants to continue to give back, to be just like his father.
Yeah, and that's what's great. I mean, he doesn't forget where he came from. Chad doesn't. He doesn't forget, those little things like that, and he wants to give back. And he's Chad is big in sports and in wrestling. We're going to talk about, but Chad's big in sports and being, all around it. He wants to get back to the community and those kids and give them the best chance to, have a future. And if they want to make it a career out of it, and like I said, again, the sky's the limit of what those of the talent that's there. And you would think a little town in Pennsylvania, and wouldn't have that much eyes on it, but it sure did that weekend for sure.
And the wrestling. This is the first time wrestling has been back in DuBois in whole years. Again, it might be early 2000s since there's been a wrestling event like this. And Daniel, you said Chad would not do this unless he could bring the best of the best. That crowd was hot for some wrestling, wasn't it?
Yes. And here's the thing, and I'm going to give a shout out to the crowd because, during the day, there was an overcast. The weather, it was. We were wondering what was going to happen, and we were putting together a plan for if it did rain. But then anytime you think of rain, I know where I'm from in the city of Louisville, when you hear rain or anything, snow or something where there's possible weather, or even too hot, everyone freaks out and doesn't want to do anything and scares, and it makes people stay at home. But that didn't scare that town at all. And lucky enough, it didn't rain. It was a little bit of a drizzle, like a sprinkle, but it was nothing. It was, everything passed by, and thank God for it. But it was just, it was crazy how so many people showed up when that probably played a part. They looked at the weather. They wondered how they should dress, how they should be prepared. That was all going through their thought and through their mind. So, like, the fact that they still not only showed up, but showed out and had so much energy was just unbelievable. And it made the whole night. Here's the thing. The last year, me being on Impact Wrestling, you've watched, we've been in here. No crowd. And in the professional wrestling world, you need a crowd. Like, that's what kind of gives you lets you know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, lets you know what's going on, who's behind you, who's not behind you, those kind of things. And even as a ref, keep that same, mindset, adrenaline, when you're out there doing the thing too, just if you're counting the 1, 2, 3 or whatever it may be. So to have that crowd, cheering and screaming and yelling and just enjoying themselves, it really lets you know, it really motivated you to make sure that you're giving the best performance possible in those matches.
Yeah, and I think this was probably your best performance I've seen you in a long time, because I don't think I have any critiques of you missing anything or just willy-nilly out there.
Oh, okay. I see where this is going. Okay, all right. I see where this is going. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anything, happened behind my back, although apparently one of the matches something did, and I didn't know about it till afterwards, but at that point it's a referee's discretion. Referee calls it, so maybe the revenge will come and smack Jesse Goddard in the face next time he tries to pull something like he did in that match. And if you don't know anything, if you missed out on it, then there's no video evidence of what happened. Therefore, it is what it is. But I think I heard Jesse kind of cheated and went over the match behind my back.
Yeah, and I don't know either, because I was, involved in my duties for the night. But, yeah, all in all, a great event. And, we've been spoiling it a little bit here, Daniel, that the board has already been set, and there possibly could be rematches already coming next year, or, more wrestling, more baseball. Are you down to come back to Du Bois once again?
Oh, yeah, I'm 100% down. I've already got the phone call that I've been said, hey, we're probably this is probably going to be an annual thing. Don't have a date yet, but, definitely want you to be involved in it again. And I said, as long as everything works out like it did this time, I'll do everything I can to make sure my schedule's open and I can be there 100%. I'm excited. I'm looking forward. And it's almost like there's a lot going on coming in the next couple of months or even year, but I'm already looking forward to June 2022 to get back up in there and have that amazing show.
Yeah, it really is a family feeling, from baseball to wrestling to just people hanging out. They don't even have to have a kid in the game. It was just a family-friendly event across the board.
It was. And, even the meet and greet beforehand, I was kind of hanging around that, and people would come up to me and say a thing or two to me if they've recognized, even after the show, some recognized, but hey, are you on Impact Television? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm the I thought that was you. You know, I'm like, it's so cool that you're here. Like, they felt so special that we all came, the OVW guys and some of the stars that all came up to the show. They felt special that we did that. We gave our time and energy and talents, whatever you want to call it, to come out there and entertain the crowd. And man, I'm telling you that was a family atmosphere. It was a fun. I mean, the whole town is just, everywhere we went, I never met a mean person. Everyone was super nice, super cool, respectful. Yeah, so it's a great place, and like I said, I'm excited to get back up there, and I wish it wasn't so far away.
Yeah, now you know the drive when I have to head to Louisville every so often. Finally, Daniel Spencer comes to Pennsylvania.
Finally. Now, I've been through Pennsylvania before because I have drove up to the big city of New York, but so I drove through it, but I've never actually like stopped and hung out. So you know, even though I counted as driving through still being in the state, now I can officially kind of hang my hat and say, regardless, I've been in the state of Pennsylvania for at least a day. Now I just got to go up to Scranton because I'm a big Office fan, so I got to go up to Scranton just to say I've been in Scranton, Pennsylvania at least one time. So.
Well, you know, there's always a bedroom here at my house, buddy. You can crash here anytime. Before I let you go, anything else besides selling stuff, because that's not what this podcast is for. Anything else you want to say to the fans in Dubois?
Yeah, thanks again for coming out. Thanks for supporting and being a part of this that awesome weekend to celebrate the life of Keith Miller. And thank you again for your hospitality, and we're looking forward to be coming up there again and kick a butt and take a name.
And welcome back as we have another guest coming to talk about the amazing time that we had at the Keith Miller Memorial Invitational Tournament. I want to bring on the 3-time national champion coach of Penn State Dubois, Coach Galleri. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal. How are you?
I'm well. Man, I'm still gloating about everything we did, you included, this past weekend in Dubois, because what an amazing event, wasn't it?
Oh, it was tremendous. Fantastic family-oriented community event that we've got nothing but great feedback from constituents in the community to former players, current players, kids, friends of ours. We've got nothing but great feedback, and hopefully we can continue that tradition. So, yeah, it was an amazing time for sure.
Yeah, and it all started Friday night with you crushing Coach Nesbitt in the first ever D9 D10 All-Star game. First and foremost, you knew that was going to happen, right? Because you hand-selected your whole team.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Coach Nesbitt and I have been together forever, and, you know, we had good friendly banter the whole week. And so beating Nez is nothing new. No, he's a great coach. He's a great friend, great mentor. I got to mention he's older than I, so he can't quite remember things. But he's tremendous and a tremendous friend, and it was awesome. It was awesome beating him, as it is always.
Right. The focus of that was to showcase the talent that is in D9 and D10. Man, I wish they would have had that in 95 when I graduated. I don't know if I would have been there, but I at least wish they would have had it for the other people. But that's an amazing event within itself.
Oh my gosh, yes. I think it was a tremendous event for the community, not only but the seniors being able to have that stage and platform to show off their skills and celebrate their senior year, being they had the COVID junior year, was awesome. It was a tremendous crowd, a great energy in the dugouts. The biggest thing for me was being able to get everybody in the game and for those guys to establish some friendships, some relationships that they can carry on moving forward.
Yeah, I'll get to about the lineup because I called the game on D9, D10 Sports.
I apologize.
but a networking. You know, you had some people that were, they were teammates with, another teammate on the Bucks or the Eagles, but there was people from DCC or Du Bois playing with people from Keystone or Eisenhower that they might have never crossed paths, and now they both made that same memory, right?
Yeah, so being able to establish that connection with kids and especially for these guys, being able to develop some relationships with being familiar with, hey, I remember that kid, or establish some familiarity with one another, to get to know someone that never would have an opportunity to meet before. That's what it's all about. And that's what sports and baseball in particular. I mean, everybody in my life that I know just about is because of baseball. So they get to establish those relationships for the future. And, the lineup Coach Nesbitt and I struggled with because we could blame Chad for not having roster numbers.
Yeah.
But we made it work. But there's kinks. No, Chad's awesome. But we just made it work. And for the first year, we had some bugs that we have to work out in the future, being able to have some things more organized when it comes to that. But we tried to walk through it and did the best job we could to get everybody on the field and get everybody at bat. So, the parents coming out and celebrating and having that experience. And it came off. And it was harder for the people announcing, but for the kids in the dugout, they appreciated everybody getting a chance to bat.
Yeah, the lineup, let's talk about that real quick. I've never seen a 20-man lineup, so to roll over the lineup, we said, now back to the top of the lineup in the fourth inning. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was tough. So these guys did a great job in understanding. The kids were awesome in understanding that, we wanted to get everybody in there and get an opportunity, and they were totally cool with everything that we did. And a couple guys that were just pitched only on the field, they still were bad at the top of the order. But having 22 guys is really difficult to try to make everybody get the time that they deserve, but they also understood as well. So one of those kinks will work out in the future. It probably won't be as many on the roster, just so we can showcase a little bit more of the seniors, because it was tough to handle in the dugout, being able to make sure everybody was, and then you have no-shows. Some people didn't show up.
Right.
So they were trying to juggle it all and make sure. I think I wrote the lineup 4 different times because one kid was supposed to show up, then he didn't show up, and so forth. So, yeah, it was difficult in juggling act, but everybody got through it and everybody got their playing time. The hardest it was on was you and the public address announcer. They had the most difficult challenge because it wasn't greatly communicated on our end because we were rushed a little bit and we need to do a better job, all of us, at getting that more established. But it was still, kids did a great job. Coaches did a good job. Kids did a tremendous job, and a great crowd too. So it was awesome.
A hot crowd, as we call it in wrestling, because I was thinking, wow, at one time it was close to, I don't want to say being a blowout, but it was close to being a blowout. And then in the top of the ninth inning, I'm like, oh my God, this kid is one swing away from this going into extra innings. That's the game of baseball, right?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. No, yeah, it was. We were blowing out Dazzy. I saw him sulking over there a little bit, so had to pull back the reins. Told the guys, hey, Coach Nesbitt may go cry in the corner. We got to make sure he's, let him get some runs. But no, all joking aside, his team did a great job, and the kids just kept playing the game, and that's baseball. And it was tremendous times for those guys to put together a little bit of a rally, make it close, make it exciting for the fans, and. It was awesome to see such a great turnout because, as you know, there's basketball All-Star games, there's football All-Star games. It's never been done before. It's never been done to have a baseball senior All-Star game. So for the first year to have that big of a crowd, for the area to come out and celebrate, kids from different places, was really, really cool event.
One more thing on Friday night, and then we'll skip around. I already told Chad, if he can't get jersey numbers on the front of the jersey, I'm going to sponsor the jerseys myself and get what I want. No, yeah.
No, it's good. It's all good.
It was a joke.
I think all of us will do a better job. All of us will do a better job at that in the future, but we've got the kinks out. It'll be good.
Yeah, first year we already got meetings scheduled, and we're rocking and rolling with stuff already, so awesome. You lingered around as well, so you were there Saturday for some of the youth tournament, and man, Du Bois puts a youth, because we didn't do much with the youth tournament. Du Bois just ran with that himself. And Coach, there's an MVP out there, and it's Amanda Roseman. She was running that youth tournament like nobody's business.
Yeah, Amanda's awesome. She's a tremendous supporter of our baseball program at Penn State Du Bois. She loves the game. She loves being around people. She does a tremendous job. She does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, especially with technology, with the big boards, and getting kids noticed up there with their pictures and all the cool stuff that everybody sees at the stadium. It's all Amanda with the walk-up music, and she's a tremendous host, and she's a friend of the program and our program, and will always be a personal friend. And she works very, very hard. It doesn't get recognized enough, but she's a tremendous person for sure.
But great baseball in the youth tournament as well. Man, Franklin really brought it.
Awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. I stopped by and watched a couple games, and had a couple former players of mine actually coached in the tournament with their sons, and it was fun. The kids were having a blast out there. You know, playing on tremendous facilities that kids don't normally out of the area get a chance to play on. So they got to have that experience, and just playing the game and learning the right way is, the most important thing.
Were you doing a little scouting for Du Bois? No, sorry. I can't, that's a joke. He can't do it. I don't want to get him in trouble. That's me saying it.
No. We're just having some fun. Just, establishing some relationships with everybody and getting, catching up with people was fun.
And speaking of some fun, you made your wrestling debut Saturday night as well.
Yeah, Chad backed me into a corner and basically told me I had to do that, and be great. And it was. I'll tell you what, yourself included, and all the wrestlers and Chad, everybody was. There's tremendous people with awesome stories and backgrounds, and it was an exciting event. It got nothing but great feedback. But yeah, it was kind of. I've never been nerve-wracked before a game, and never been nervous. Never always been able to handle that stuff, but. God, I just didn't want to screw up. It was awesome. It was cool.
Well,
it was a cool experience.
You did the Clary clothesline, right?
Yeah, they told me I had to do a clothesline, and our star pitcher for the last 4 years, he graduated, Brandon Orsich, who's been our all-time winningest pitcher, was my partner, and we did a clothesline on a guy, but Tony Gunn, I think is his name, right?
Yep.
And he was awesome. What an awesome guy he is. And, everybody was great, but it was cool. It was cool to do, and nerve-wracking, but exciting, and just honored, honestly, to be asked to be a part of that and bring some excitement to the area. I hope in the future that the crowd becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, because those guys really put on a cool show.
Yeah, well, that's part of the podcast for today, is to tell everybody what they missed and what to expect next year. Because, as I said, stuff's already in the works, and you're gonna be on the board. You're gonna be a strong part of this. So,
well, I just don't want to get hurt. I'm old now. I can't be touched. I told everybody I'm like Bobby the Brain Heenan. I can't be touched. There's got to be a certain guidelines for me to handle things. But no, people didn't know what they missed. I mean, first year, I don't think people really knew what to expect. But in the future, I expect a huge crowd, especially if they establish it with Du Bois Community Days. And people will be excited. I know word is traveling fast. I know we've publicized it and marketed it on our end. And, a lot of people wish they could have came. And I know they'll come in the future, because it was very entertaining, and everybody, you can't miss it. It's fun. It was fun to be around, and I know a lot of our guys will make sure they're there.
Yeah. Coach, I want to thank you for spending a few minutes here on the show, but before I let you go, what was your favorite part of the whole weekend?
Oh, what a great question. Honestly, being able to see Chad again and see him be able to spend some time with his family, because he's such a busy person, and be a part of it as far as relationships go with his mom, seeing her and seeing how happy she was having him home, and was awesome. The most entertaining part, which everybody needs to be at next year, is the wrestling event. It was unbelievable. And the scene from coaching aspect from the senior game was an honor to be a part of, and love watching those guys. Just enjoy one more game before their career is over was fun. And so all of it. I mean, there isn't one moment. I thought each moment was really cool to be a part of, and I'm just totally honored. But I think just watching Chad be home and put that all on for the community was tremendous.
The smile on his face each and every time that he had the mic in his hand, getting to talk about his dad. That you saw the glow right there because you knew that his dad was with him this whole weekend.
Yeah, I mean, his dad was a big part of his life, as everybody's dad is. But Chad put all this on in honor of his father, and his memory of his father, and having him and his family there with his nephews and everything was truly touching. And for Chad to be that charitable, to bring this to the area so everybody could benefit. The Du Bois United Way, the city of Du Bois, the Du Bois Little League was tremendous. And Chad made it all happen, and he did it in honor of his father, which not many people get a chance to do. And we need more people like that in the world to make a difference, and he certainly made a difference.
We really do. Oh, by the way, we got the email already that Nezzy already challenged you to the rematch. So next year, we're ready to go.
Well, hey, Nez is a savvy veteran. I won't ever put anything by him. Sure, he's a winner. He's a winner. But to be the man, you got to beat the man, right?
I thought you were going to give me the Ric Flair woo.
That's right. To be the man, you got to beat the man, and he's got to beat the man to start talking.
All right, Coach. Thanks for spending some time here, and we'll see you real soon.
All right, awesome. Thank you for having me on, and stay in touch.
And we're here with our next guest, the OVW announcer, Stephanie. Stephanie, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you, Mark. How are you?
Good. I called you today because I want to still continue to promote and review and everything that we did last week in Du Bois, Pennsylvania for the Keith Miller Memorial Invitational Tournament and the Ballpark Brawl. Don't you think the outcome was amazing?
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I think that we got so lucky on the weather. There were so many times that the clouds just kept going, and I thought it was going to really storm on everybody, but it didn't. And even that is a gorgeous field, that baseball field, both of them.
Yeah.
Really, really nice fields. They
really are. So before we talk about the whole thing, what was your favorite part of the weekend, Steph?
As the kids went through the combine, just seeing them, my personal responsibility was the vert and the grip strength. So even being amused at, watching them at how strong they were gripping the grip strength meter and competing against each other, just putting that, even though it was diagnostics that would help them gain knowledge in the future at where they are standing right now, I just think that it was still fun for them.
It was. It really was. Between you and Stitch, you guys did a great thing with this combine. Chad and I were just there, and I'll get thrown under the bus later on with that, just, tossing balls around. But you and Stitch ran that combine well, and you saw that at the end of the baseball game when everybody was just so attentive and thanking both of you and saying, this is awesome, because around this area, we don't get many combines like that. This is the first. I would have loved this in 95 when I graduated high school. So you guys are doing some great things.
Yes. And I think that it helps with Chad being the type of person that he is, that he's always wanting to give back. So even if that is something like a combine, incorporating a community in that. And I think that he genuinely wants these kids not only to gain more knowledge or, to better their abilities and strengths, but also to create an experience that is unique and fun and not so, just rigid, you're just going through the movements, here, next, like cattle.
So you're calling the kids cat? No, I'm kidding.
No.
Another thing is networking. This was a great networking for each and every one of the kids because, yeah, you might have had some high school teammates with you during this All-Star game, but you were just opened up to people that you might become your best friend when you go to college and, might be playing on your same college teams that you've never met before. So networking was huge as well.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool how well all the different, those districts were District 9 and 10, but they were like a blend from all different teams. So I don't think that you would have known that just by watching the game, And it was even cool to like all the parents. So like I feel like even though it's not like it was a year ago, like it still was really great to see people come out and just be able to like interact with each other and eat concession food and,
Yeah.
hang out.
I agree. So that's the combine. And then Saturday, we were kind of involved in the youth tournament a little bit, but DuBois ran that, and man, did they run it great. Our big thing on Saturday was the wrestling event. And Stephanie, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for bowing out from announcing, because that was so much fun on my part, getting to announce these ladies and gentlemen. It was fun. You made my weekend by saying, hey, I have to do the ticket booth or whatever the heck you did.
Oh, man, I was wrangling cattle out there.
Yeah. Again, are you on a farm today or something?
Oh, my gosh. Well, all those kids, like wristbanding, all those kids. So, yes, I appreciate it as well, you having no problem taking that over. But now you get to experience, like, what us announcers talk about. Like,
right.
I'm sure it was fun for you, but it's also kind of stressful.
It is. It really was. And we'll talk off air sometime about that, but holy moly. Seeing the kids there for that wrestling show, this is something that DuBois needs every so often, doesn't it? The kids were just released. They didn't have any worries. They just got into the show.
Yes. So that is my favorite part anyway. Even being in OVW, like I love like how excited the kids get. Like, and I knew that would be my favorite part, with the youth tournament being right there and so many parents and kids attending. And I really hope that parents got to see that as well. Because they were so excited and they get so into it. And I love when they like pick somebody, and they instantly are like so against that other bad guy quote, like
right.
It just, they jump right into the middle of it. And I also afterward, there were several parents that came up and did thank us and did appreciate having it. So I think just that community, like fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. One question before I slap you with something that you don't know. What would you have danced with Cal Hero in the ring? You knew I was going to throw you under the bus. You would have, Stephanie.
What?
You would have.
I probably would have. Yeah. It's kind of hard not to with him,
Yeah, I agree. So we're in the talks for already next year, and it's just a great event to come back, and maybe the wrestling could be not bi-yearly, twice a year is what I'm trying to say. So are you in for that? Making that trip to Louisville to Pennsylvania every time?
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Everybody was, all around, everybody was really, really awesome. Even like the Amanda that Resman over the field at the baseball field.
Right.
She was so awesome. Just so helpful and sweet, and never got like, hey, you're asking too much of me. Stop asking me so many questions. She was just sweet as to be. So I think we all felt like really welcomed. Even the wrestlers, like I think that they genuinely had really good time being there.
I agree, and I'm glad you brought up Amanda's name because if anybody gets the MVP award for the weekend, it goes to Amanda Roseman.
Roseman. I knew I was pronouncing that wrong. Yes. What a phenomenal human being she is.
She really is. She really is. All right, Steph, I'll let you wrap it up. Anything else you want to say about the great event that we were part of last weekend or what we have coming up here in the near future, meaning next year, that you might have in the works already?
I know that we have already started meeting about it, and we are definitely going to, keep it going as something that we're working on throughout the year, just to, each year grow a little bit more, hopefully. So, what's nice about it is that I believe, anyway, that it's always going to be, over Father's Day weekend. So I think that that's something that's simple for people to remember and be able to look forward to as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important since it's for Chad's dad, in memory of Chad's dad, that we keep it on Father's Day weekend as well. So, Steph, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. You know I love you. Stop by anytime.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And welcome to the show. This is somebody calling into the studio because you were a little heated after what we just heard from Coach Caleri. Coach Nesbitt, how are you today?
I'm okay, but, I'm hearing things.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. He says your coaching game wasn't there, more or less, as well.
Well, you know what? He's so lucky. I mean, think about Caleri and all the luck he's had in his life. He just stumbles into stuff and, it comes out smell like a rose. This is just another example of that.
Yeah. There's a heated rivalry between you two, right?
Oh, it goes back to when he played high school baseball and I coached against him. He couldn't beat me then. So, he wins one game against me and, it's the biggest deal in the world. For him, it's like, winning the College World Series again.
So he's
fourth time.
There you go. Lucky. All joking aside, let's talk about the weekend real quick because what an amazing weekend in DuBois. What an amazing turnout for the athletes. And I saw you smiling at the wrestling event. You got into it.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was entertaining. I tell you what, people don't know what they missed with that. It's pure entertainment, man. It was worth it.
So let's talk about the D9, D10 All-Star game real quick because this is something that, man, I wish they had in 95. I said that a couple times on this podcast. I don't know if I would have been there, but at least the good players around here would have had the chance. And the tools that Chad brought in to see what these kids can do now to build for their future is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I started coaching high school in 88, and I coached until 99, I think. And, there were some remarkable players that came through this area during that time period. I mean, there were some professionals, some major leaguers. That would have been incredible. But I tell you what, I'm glad that someone like Chad has said, okay, this is something we need to do. And it got done because it's long overdue, to be honest with you. I mean, it hasn't, and Chad and I were talking, and Tom were talking about the old Legion East-West game and what a big deal it was for kids to make that team to play at Three River Stadium in the All-West game. It was huge, and this is something that's similar to that. I think it's going to become a really big event, and you're going to see some really good players come through because District 9 and District 10 has some good players.
Oh, they do. They really do. One of them broke my arm when I was a freshman in high school, and his name was Jim Pitsley.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's just naming one. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, go back and think about all the kids, not only just from DuBois. I mean, you think about Mike Voda and Bob Maeda and some of those guys, and think about some of the guys that came through Clearfield with Jeff Droll. And I mean, Punxsutawney had some fantastic pitchers over the years. Like I said, there's a lot of guys who played not only high-level college baseball, but professionally too. And, I think you're going to see that with some of these guys around here going forward, and they're playing this game. So I'm just glad Chad decided, hey, let's get this done. And Tom and I obviously were ecstatic to jump on board. We have a history with Chad, coaching him back in his collegiate days, and we're just really happy to be part of it.
In the facilities, 10 times better than what Three Rivers were back then. Three Rivers was a little dilapidated back in the day, but these facilities here in DuBois are unbelievable.
Yeah, we're so lucky. I mean, we have great leadership with Herm Simplizio, and we're really fortunate to live in this area. And if you're a baseball fan, there's nothing better.
And I know you got to watch some of the youth tournament. Man, the DuBois Little League really puts it on. We didn't have much to do with that, but to corral the teams more or less.
Right.
They are they run it to a T. The fields, like I said again, are amazing. The graphics, everything that, you just can't go wrong with DuBois Little League.
No, it's, everybody takes a lot of pride in the baseball around here, and it starts with Little League and what they do and the leadership there. So, and it feeds the whole way up to us at Penn State. And, we're just excited and blessed to be part of it.
And then finally, the wrestling event, as we said that you enjoyed that, but the kids, that was kind of like the give back moment of the weekend, having all the kids from the different teams kind of just like bonding, hanging out.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see, and it was fun to watch how the wrestlers themselves engaged and got the kids involved. It was a blast. I thought it was awesome.
The only thing I want to ask you is, how is coaching a 20-man roster? Because I said this with Coach Caleri as well. The lineup cards were unbelievable crap because we got them 2 minutes before the game. No, that's just a knock on you guys. We had fun.
Yeah, it's obviously it was tough to try to figure out how to manage it. And we sort of sat down together and said, okay, maybe this is the best way of doing it. And it was tough because obviously some kids just couldn't make it for various reasons who were originally on the roster, who we had them penciled in. So we had to quickly make changes. Fortunately for me, I had Jeff Gasbury as on my staff. He and I coached the team together. And just that's what he does with us for Penn State DuBois. I mean, he's on top of stuff with changes. And it was he made it a lot easier once we figured out exactly how many kids we had. And, Tom and I both agreed, let's just get them all at bats. We'll just bat them all. And unfortunately, they all got at least 2 at bats. So it worked out really well. It was a little bit hectic, but it worked out. So
and it was a great game.
Yeah.
It came down to the 9th inning.
Yeah, it was a fabulous game. It really was. I mean, unfortunately, we booted the ball around a little bit. I think they had 5 runs on 1 hit to start the game. And, can't spot anybody 5 runs, whether it's a Little League game or an All-Star game. Expect to maybe come back. But, no, it was fun. It was competitive. It was, it came down to it. I mean, we had an opportunity there at the end. And, again, Caleri got lucky and just somehow pulled it out.
Yeah. You and Caleri. So we have already announced that the rematch has been signed for next year because, between myself, you, Caleri, Chad, everybody, we're already knocking this out of the ballpark to bring it back because this is going to be one of those tournaments, showcases that everybody's going to want to be at in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we're excited to see where this goes. I think it could be pretty special. So, we've already talked to Chad about it. We've already talked to a couple coaches about it in District 9 and District 10. to maybe help us out a little bit. But no, we're pumped. We're really excited. I think this could be. I mean, it was awesome already. I think it's just going to do nothing but get bigger and better. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited to be part of it.
Good, and we're glad to have you on board. As I said, rematch already scheduled for next year. Nez, I want to thank you for spending some time here on the podcast, and we'll be seeing you real soon.
All right, thank you.
And this could not be the ending of the podcast without having the man, the myth, the legend, Chad Miller, come on the show and talk about what this past weekend did for DuBois in remembrance of his dad and everything in general. Chad, welcome back to Can Crushers.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on today, and also thank you for everything that you did this past weekend.
No problem. You know, I loved every minute of it, from baseball to wrestling and a couple of beverages with you. It was a perfect weekend for me. And I was out of the house, so my wife was happy with you, too.
Exactly. She was probably the most happy person of the weekend.
She was. So let's talk about your thoughts on this, how it really came about. I know it, and then how the whole weekend spun. And again, I keep using the word perfectly, but it was perfect, wasn't it?
It really was. I mean, it was an incredible weekend. I mean, from everybody that helped out, you know, Stephanie Green, Kalen Stitcher, Al, you know, even though he ended up with a battle scar, he did color commentary, he got color
himself.
You know, then we had, you know, Coach Clary, Coach Nesbitt, Amanda from DuBois, you know, Matt from DuBois. I mean, just an absolute, and really all the teams that played in the youth tournament. I mean, just an incredible weekend.
Yeah, it really was. Congratulations to Franklin for crushing it in the championship game as well.
No, and it's really cool because the head coach that was managing Franklin, the Firestormers, I believe was their team. Paul Sloan, him and I actually grew up playing baseball together, and he actually ended up later on in life working side by side with my dad at Joy Manufacturing. And so for him, it was really emotional. It was awesome to see him win the tournament, because, you know, when we first announced this, he was like, I don't care what's going on. I'm playing in that tournament just simply because of, in remembrance of your dad and our relationship that we had playing against each other growing up.
Wow, I just got the chills. I knew that you guys knew each other, but I didn't know that you actually ended up working with your dad and everything. That's an emotional story. It's fitting,
yeah,
right?
It really was. I mean, the funny thing about it was my dad actually had purchased, my mom and dad actually had purchased Paul's son's first baseball glove and hat whenever he was a baby. So it was really neat to see him play in the tournament as a 12-year-old and then obviously have an opportunity to win the tournament.
And it was a family affair because on the tournament All-Star game, it was awesome to see your niece and nephew throw out the first pitch, the ceremonial first pitch, standing right beside Grandma, and you and your brother were there to catch the balls, which that brought a tear to my eye as well.
Yeah, it was awesome because they're not, you know, they're more into archery, but Brock and Ellie were, you know, it was really neat for them because when we explained the gravity of the situation, they really got excited because I was like, you know, they're like, I don't want to do this. This is going to be too scary. And I'm like, well, listen, Grandpa's going to help you throw this ball. And so when I said that, it was awesome because they, you know, it was like they perked up. And so, you know, my brother, who's very, I'm sure you saw that he's an introvert, and I'm very much an extrovert. To see him kind of come out and really show his personality that day was awesome. And, you know, for my mom, you know, you got to spend a lot of time with her. She was just so grateful about the whole entire experience and to have the crowd applaud for them. It was something that I don't think they're ever going to forget, which is kind of what, you know, the whole entire reason why we wanted to do this. So it was really cool. And then I got to be honest with you, I got to really thank Prime Fitness Equipment because originally, I should say, I wanted those guys to throw the first pitch out because of them being the title sponsor of the game. And Sean Wingert, who's their CFO and, was one of my American Legion baseball coaches. He's like, absolutely not. He's like, you will be throwing this out. And to give you credit, you came up with the idea of having Brock and Ellie throw the pitch out. So it worked out perfectly. It was awesome.
Well, actually, I said Mom should throw it out, but Mom put the kibosh to that real quick.
Exactly.
And who's to fight with Mom, right?
Oh yeah, she typically always wins, so that worked out well.
Yeah, you're the only one that fights with her. So I'm not fast forwarding this, but that was the family part of it, which was awesome. Like I said, I felt like I was part of your family all weekend, so thank you for that. But the outcome of the whole game then, from the eyes that were on the kids from D9 and D10 to the eyes that were on the youth baseball as well, there were some pretty important people there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the mayor was there. We had, obviously Al Snow was in attendance, which was it was really neat because what I really enjoyed about the weekend was it was a combination of showing the people back home what I do, part of what I do, as a person, because I'm not when I fly home or if I come home, I'm usually home for about 18 to 24 hours. So nobody really kind of knows what I do for a living and what my world entails, whether it be professional wrestling or sports performance. And then on the flip side of that, it was neat to bring Sin Bodie to Du Bois. That's a character that you don't normally see walking down the street, or Jesse Goddard's walking down the street at Du Bois. Those are types of people that Du Bois doesn't have an opportunity to get a chance at. So it was really interesting to commingle the two worlds, and it really was a very cool experience for everyone.
I think, it's been announced with a couple of guests and everything that we're already in the works for, next year's. We're planning this, we're planning that. But I think if Sin Bodie doesn't come back next year, I think there might be a riot because he was over more than anything else in the world. He was loved in Du Bois.
Well, between Sin and Cash, I mean, those two guys absolutely freaking brought it. And, I called Cash, Mr. Baronic, the bank president from Next Year Bank, came up to me and he hugged me and he was like, and it turns out him and I both played baseball at Slippery Rock. And he was like, dude, I got to tell you something. He's like, my kid, before, as I was tucking him into bed at night last night, literally hugged me and said, Dad, I just want to let you know, this is the greatest day of my life. And I started laughing and he was like, no, seriously, like when I say that, he's not joking. He's like, Dad, I got to slap somebody and 500 people cheered.
Right.
And he's like, I want to be a wrestler. And so we were both laughing about it, but I called Cash up and I said, dude, you have no idea what you did. And he was like, he goes, if you want to know why I'm a wrestler, that's the reason.
Yeah. And then he brought him in the ring, and that was an off-the-cuff thing. We really, that wasn't planned. Let's lower the fourth wall here for a second. That wasn't planned. When Cal was dancing around, he looks at me, he's like, get these kids in the ring. All right, let's go.
For being a 19-year-old, Cal Harrow's aptitude and fan awareness, and just ability to read a room is second to none. Like you can't teach what Cal has.
No.
Cal's going to have a very, very, very bright future ahead of him. And to see him do what he did Saturday and really set the stage for Cash to just absolutely bring the house down. I mean, if you really want to boil it down to what happened, it was Cal that set the table. And then, Cash and Sin knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree. So that's this past weekend. Any other notes that you want to talk about this past weekend that I forgot to bring up?
Well, I mean, I can't thank the fans enough that came out. I mean, I truly believe they all had a phenomenal time, and I believe that, everybody that came wanted more, which is exactly what we're trying to accomplish every time we put a show on.
Right, I agree. And wanting more brings us to the next part of we're already in the plans for next year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's talk of doing this during Du Bois Community Days, which would take our crowd from 1,000 to 10,000. by simply just moving it to that weekend. And, and selfishly, because it's, in honor of my father, I hope that's what we do. Nothing's set in stone. But, the goal of putting on a great show and bringing something to Northwestern Pennsylvania that truly hasn't either been there for a long time or is something that's never been there before, I think we definitely hit the mark.
You sure did, because I got a lot of messages from, on the Can Crusher page about, man, that show was awesome. When are they coming back? Can they come back again before the end of summer? So you hit it out of the ballpark with a great wrestling as well.
Well, and everybody on that card, either between myself, Al, or Dave Harrow, or you, we hand-selected that card. And I'm very proud to say there wasn't one single person that let us down on that card. Even if you go to the female match, the only two that I didn't have a whole lot of experience with was Vicious Vicky and Notorious Mimi, and they brought it. They were very, very professional. The crowds absolutely adored and loved them, and they just put on a great show.
I'll have to say one person let me down, though, Chad. One person.
Who's that?
Daniel Spencer. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's the problem. The big issue with Daniel is he just can't get out of his own way. He's always fixing his hair, and
right.
It's just for being a referee, he's just so vain. He's got to stop it.
It's clumsy. All right,
Daniel. To be honest with you, and all joking aside, Daniel is like the consummate professional. And I rely on him very heavily to help organize a lot of things, and he did just an absolute phenomenal job on his side as well.
Yeah, top to bottom, from you being the top and you and Al at the top to me being at the bottom, Chad, there couldn't have been a better team for this whole thing. But I do have to say, and I want to know if you back me on this, Amanda Roseman was the MVP of the weekend.
Oh my God. I mean, she's just a rock star. I think that, I literally just got done talking to Coach Clary about her, and I just said, she's just phenomenal. I mean, the city of DuBois is so blessed to have her, for what she does and how she does it, and the efficiency and professionalism that she has. Not only that, but by the end of the weekend, my mom, it was like her best friend. She's just so friendly and so nice, and makes everybody feel warm and welcome. And I just can't say it enough. I mean, the lady, I should say, is just at the top of her game.
Yeah, I thought they were trading recipes for something. I really did. I don't know.
But and that's the thing is, I go back to, from everybody. I can't thank everybody enough. From you. I mean, everything that you did was it was over the top, and I can't thank you enough. And Coach Clary, Coach Nesbitt, Amanda, Al and Dave Al Snow and Dave Harrow and Stephanie and Stitch. I mean, it was just, and then Eric Hammer. Eric Hammer knocked it out of the park during the combine. And that's the guy that's just an absolute. He's a prototypical performance coach, an unsung hero. He's a man behind the man in many situations that just makes things happen.
Well, I'm sure I'll speak for the masses here, and it's all because of you, the way that you treat people, the way that your father brought you up, and your mother as well. We love you, and we want to do as much as we can for your family, because do unto others as you have done to yourself.
And to be frank with you, the reason why I chose DuBois is that growing up, I had just such a great experience playing baseball, whether it was for Keystone Baseball Academy or whether it was coming over and playing against DuBois in Fed League or playing high school baseball against those guys. It was just a great place to play and just a great community.
It really is. All right, Chad, any parting thoughts before I let you go and we'll wrap this up?
No, I mean, I just can't wait until next year. I think that, I think the baseball game is going to be bigger and better. I think the sports performance aspect is going to be, we've got some really cool things planned for next year in regards to that. But most importantly, the card we had in wrestling this year was great. and next year we want to take it to a whole another level. And I think that we can probably, expect some really big time names will be coming in.
Yeah, there's already stuff in the works for random other things too, so be on the watch of that. Chad, I love you, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you, sir, for everything. Can't thank you enough for all your hard work and effort, and we couldn't have done it without you. Take care.
This is the earthquake and the pillars shaking, the leader of the Meat Pop Express, your boy BTBB, Big Trouble, Ben Bishop, the man who stands at 6'12" and weighs in at 15% of the metric ton, and you are listening to the Can Crushers podcast.
No better way to end this than with Chad Miller, right? Yeah. God, that was a great event. As you heard me talk to Chad, I felt like I was part of the family that whole weekend, hung out with Mom. Did get to see the first pitches. It was amazing. And just to let you guys know, we are in plans to do everything for next year even bigger. Even bigger, even better. We're so excited. I want to thank everybody that came on the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast to talk about the Keith Miller Memorial Invitational. Brandon, Coach Clary, Coach Nesbitt, Steffi, Chad, Daniel Spencer, everybody. It was fun. It really was fun. Thank you guys for giving us a little bit of look into what you thought was pretty cool for the weekend. Guys, if you want to know more, reach out to us here on Can Crushers. It's cancrushers69@gmail.com. You can find us on social medias everywhere. It's all Can Crushers69 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check us out. We love doing wrestling, but we love doing events like this to help everybody out. So remember, just because you're trash, Daniel Spencer, it doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.